Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. So we've gathered your materials, these reflections on mental endurance and, that growth you just can't see.
Yeah.
And we're digging into something really fundamental today, persistence. Why we keep going or why it's so hard to.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission really is to unpack that difference,
Mm.
one between like what people see on the outside progress and what's happening deep down inside.
The internal shift.
Exactly. We want to offer some insight into why consistency, even when you're, full of doubt, is really the bedrock. It's the foundation for any kind of long-term success.
And it's such a crucial deep dive because honestly, the core feeling in these sources, it's so relatable. It speaks directly to you, the listener. You're the one showing up, right? You're studying, you're working hard. Maybe you're trying to be kinder to yourself.
You're doing all the things.
You're doing the things, but then you look around and there's this confusion, maybe even a sense of failure, because it feels like nothing's actually changing.
Right. Like maybe you've stuck with a new habit for a whole year, but the results
Yeah.
barely noticeable.
Or you're putting in the extra hours at work, but that next step, that promotion, it just feels stuck,
Yeah.
out of reach.
Yeah.
It's that constant effort without the immediate payoff, either emotionally or, visibly.
And that dynamic, that specific feeling, it creates this huge psychological weight. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads us perfectly into the first big idea from the sources.
Mm-hmm.
This focus on a really deep kind of exhaustion. It's not just being tired. The material defines it as the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix.
Mm-hmm. That it's hard, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Because you instantly recognize it's not about needing more sleep. It's about the sheer mental load you've been shouldering.
And what's really interesting there, I think, is how it's framed as, well, cognitive load almost in disguise.
How so?
It's that profound weariness that comes from performing strength,
Yeah.
The effort of being the resilient one, always pretending you're okay, masking the uncertainty,
Always pushing through.
and just the sheer emotional labor of trying again and again, even when you're not sure it's working. You carry that for long enough, it becomes this chronic fatigue that, a weekend off just won't touch.
And when you're carrying that kind of weight, that's when those psychological symptoms really start showing up.
Mm-hmm.
And they're frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
The sources talk about progress feeling totally invisible, like you're running on a treadmill.
Yeah, that analogy is perfect.
You are moving. You're putting in effort, physical, mental, checking the boxes.
Right.
But because the scenery isn't changing, your brain just flags it as failure.
Yeah.
Why is it so easy for our brains to make that jump, to confuse that effort with defeat?
Well, I think it comes down to how we're wired. Our brains love immediate rewards. They love a clear, linear story. A leads to B leads to C.
Right, neat and tidy.
Exactly. But when progress is, structural, when you're building new pathways in your brain or developing self-discipline, that stuff is slow. It can be boring.
Definitely not flashy.
Not at all. It doesn't give you that quick dopamine hit. So the danger of that treadmill feeling is you're not getting an emotional return on your investment.
Okay.
You feel like you've poured so much in and you're still in the same spot. And that psychological fatigue, that's precisely when those dangerous whispers start.
The self-doubt whispers, yeah, they're insidious.
They really are, because the logic of exhaustion kicks in. If you're pushing this hard and nothing seems to be happening on the outside.
Then the problem must be me.
Exactly. Your brain tells you, maybe I'm just not good enough. Or, look, this is pointless. I should just stop.
That feels so real in the moment, too.
It does. But recognizing that intense self-doubt is actually a symptom of the fatigue, not some objective truth about your potential. That's the crucial skill the material points to. It's about learning to stand up to that feeling of futility.
Okay, so the doubt is real, the struggle is real, the effort feels invisible.
Mm-hmm.
Where do the sources tell us to look for reassurance then? How do we keep going when it feels like we're just pouring energy into nothing?
Well, that brings us to the absolute core insight here. It's this idea of roots before leaves.
Roots before leaves, okay.
The assurance, according to the sources, is pretty absolute. Even when nothing seems to change outwardly, something is always changing inside. We just have to challenge that conditioning that tells us growth has to be instant or, flashy.
All right, we expect fireworks.
We do. But real transformation, it's often subterranean, hidden.
I like that focus on the certainty of it, even if it's hidden. That tree analogy really helps make it tangible, doesn't it?
Mm.
You look at a tree in, say, late winter, it looks barren. Maybe even looks like it's dead, like it failed.
Right. No leaves, no fruit.
But underneath, It's doing all this vital structural work,
Mm.
deepening its roots, getting a better grip, preparing for, the storms ahead.
Exactly.
So maybe this moment for us, this period of feeling exhausted and unseen, maybe it's just that, our root growing phase,
Yeah.
foundational work.
I think that's precisely it. And the
Yeah.
material actually details what you're building internally during that quiet, unsexy period. It's not just knowledge or skills. It's deep patience. It's the slow building of resilience. It's forging this quiet strength that is becoming unshakable.
Wow, unshakable.
Yeah. This isn't wasted time. It's the essential stage of planting seeds through just radical consistency. And the reason you haven't seen the bloom yet, it's simple. The roots aren't done. They're not established enough to support it. You can't cheat the roots.
You can't cheat the roots. That implies we really need to rethink what strength even looks like then.
Totally.
We tend to imagine strength as, I don't know, big, loud, maybe heroic, effortlessly confident.
Yeah, the superhero version.
Right. But the material seems to say, no, that's not quite it.
It really pushes back on that.
Hmm.
Real strength, according to these reflections, is more about the willingness to show up silently, imperfectly.
Without waiting to feel ready.
Exactly. Not waiting until you feel brave or confident. Strength is those moments when your heart is screaming, I can't do this anymore, but somehow your feet still move forward. You still open the book, you still
Yeah.
make the call, you still send that difficult email, that quiet kind of stubborn choice. That is perseverance.
Okay, but that raises a real important point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How do we know the difference between that kind of perseverance, the root building, and just stubborn inertia? Like, when is showing up actually the wrong decision?
That's a great question. And that's where self-awareness has to come in.
Okay.
Stubborn inertia is usually driven by ego.
Right.
Refusing to quit because you fear failure or what other people might think.
Makes sense.
True perseverance, though, it's driven by intention, by your values. So the check is, if you're showing up day after day and the internal result is you're building more self-compassion, you're getting better at tolerating uncertainty, then you're building strength.
They're growing root.
You're growing roots. But if you're showing up and the result is just mounting panic, maybe self-loathing, definitely burnout, then something needs to shift. Maybe the method needs adjusting, not the underlying commitment. And crucially, this is so important, the sources really stress that we often confuse trying our best with feeling our best.
Oh, say more about that.
They're just not the same thing.
Wow.
You can be tired, you can be unsure, you can be genuinely scared and still be doing your absolute best in that moment, still moving forward.
That distinction, trying your best versus feeling your best, wow, that feels like a game changer.
It really is.
Your emotional state is just data. It's information, not the ultimate dictator of your effort.
Precisely. It just means you care enough to stay in the process even when it feels slow or boring or, emotionally draining.
Okay.
And the source material gives this perfect little anecdote, actually, about how that silent showing up builds that internal strength even when the person felt completely inadequate. It talks about starting this very show.
Yes, I remember reading that. It was incredibly honest.
Mm.
The reflection was clear. The person behind the mic didn't feel confident. Not at all. There were real worries about accent, about energy levels, whether the ideas were even good enough. A genuine moment of hesitation, apparently, almost pulling the plug on the first deep dive because they felt so unprepared.
Right. But the key insight, the secret, was realizing I wasn't ready. I was just there, and that was enough.
Just being there was the action.
Exactly. That moment of stepping forward, despite feeling inadequate, it created something huge, something that no amount of extra preparation could have given.
Which was?
Self-trust. That small, imperfect act of just showing up, it created this louder, stronger internal voice that said, okay, I can count on me.
Wow.
Self-trust isn't really born from big successes. It's born from that consistent, imperfect follow-through day by day.
That really is the slow magic of consistency, isn't it? Even when it feels so quiet, which takes us right into section 4, how this kind of progress actually shows up and maybe why we miss it sometimes.
Yeah, and if we zoom out for a second, we have to remember we're swimming against this huge cultural tide, right? The one that just celebrates the quick win.
Oh, yeah. The learn a language in 30 days hype. The overnight success story.
Exactly. Which makes for great marketing, but honestly terrible psychology. Because real lasting growth, it isn't just slow, it's often really unexciting at first glance.
Like that plant analogy you mentioned earlier.
Precisely. You water that plant every single day, you wait, nothing seems to happen. Then, one morning, poof, a little sprout.
Yeah.
But that sprout didn't appear just because of yesterday's watering. It appeared because of every single silent, faithful watering before that, all that unseen effort.
And sometimes the sources say change doesn't actually feel like change at all.
Right. It feels like boredom or
Yeah.
silence or just nothing.
Like nothing's happening.
And because there's no drama,
All right.
no big breakthrough moment, we start to doubt the whole process. But that silence, that's often the sound of deep structural work being laid down. It's the sign the foundation is finally starting to take the load.
That's a powerful reframe.
And to make that internal shift really concrete, the sources share this transformation story of a student named May.
Oh, right, May. Yes.
She's described as very soft-spoken, always apologizing for her English, using that self-defeating language like, oh, sorry, I'm not very good at this.
Yeah, undermining herself before she even started.
Exactly. And yet, she was relentless, she showed up, always present, had this notebook crammed with messy, colorful notes, clear proof she was fully engaged, even if her outward fluency wasn't, dramatically improving week to week.
So her effort was consistent, even if her confidence wasn't.
Precisely. And her big breakthrough wasn't suddenly speaking perfect English, which is what we usually look for, right?
Okay, the external measure.
Her breakthrough was entirely internal. It was a fundamental cognitive shift. One day, she just raised her hand, didn't apologize, and said something like, I used to think I was bad at English. Now I just think I'm learning, and that's okay.
Wow, that is huge.
Isn't it? That shift from an identity based on perceived failure to an identity based on the process of learning, that growth and self-kindness, even while still making mistakes, that's way more powerful than any test score.
That's the real strength being built, the unshakable part.
That's it. And that's exactly how progress often sneaks up on us. It doesn't arrive with a big announcement.
No trumpets.
No trumpets. It arrives in these small, surprising moments that make you pause and look back. You surprise yourself one day.
Like how?
Maybe you handle a stressful situation calmly, one that used to send you spiraling. Or you speak more clearly without thinking about it. Or maybe you say no to something you don't want to do without feeling instantly guilty.
And you have that moment of realization.
Yeah. You think, wait a minute. I didn't used to feel this steady. I didn't used to handle things like this. That feeling of sudden, unexpected steadiness, that's the payoff. That's the result of every single small, unseen act every time you chose not to give up during those quiet root-building months.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what does this mean for you listening right now as you move forward? I think the core message from all these sources is really clear. Just because you can't see the progress yet, maybe in your habits or your words, or even just the quiet ways you've started treating yourself a bit better, it doesn't mean it isn't happening. You are building something. Structural momentum.
Yeah.
The key seems to be staying present, trying to be patient with the process.
Which is hard.
So hard, and consciously choosing to believe in the strength you've already shown, just by showing up this far.
Absolutely. And if you are feeling slow today, if you're feeling that deep fatigue, the kind sleep doesn't fix. Let this final thought from the source material offer some reassurance. You are not behind, you're not broken, you're not too late. You are simply in the middle of becoming someone you've never been before.
Becoming someone new.
And that's why growth feels so uncertain, right? It's
Yeah.
so confusing sometimes. Because you're literally walking into uncharted territory. You're forging a path without a map.
That makes so much sense. So since the truth is that growth feels uncertain, precisely because you're becoming someone new, maybe consider this. What's one small, maybe even unseen, act of perseverance you can commit to tomorrow? Not for anyone else, not to prove anything to the world, but just to honor that quiet promise you made to yourself, maybe a long time ago, to simply not give up.
Yeah.
Maybe you just whisper that commitment to yourself tonight, that quiet internal choice. That's often the most powerful decision we make.
Beautifully put.
Until next time, everyone, take care of those roots.